And joining me now, Senator Doug Jones, Democrat of Alabama. He's a former federal prosecutor as well. Sir, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, Brianna. Thank you for having me.
Well, as you know, Roger Stone is looking for a new trial, and the Attorney General is having outside prosecutors review Michael Flynn's case. Did you ever see anything like this during your time as a U.S. attorney?
No, not at all. I don't recall ever seeing this in any administration. I think you almost have to go back to John Mitchell, who was Nixon's Attorney General, who went to prison for some of the things he did for Richard Nixon. This is unprecedented. This is not what I think is in keeping with the pillars of the Department of Justice, the professionals that are there, that are supposed to stay out of politics, that are supposed to follow the rule of law. It appears that that is just going out the window at this point.
Do you think the Attorney General is trying to undo the work of the Mueller team?
I don't know if he's trying to undo the work of the Mueller team. What I think he's trying to do is apparently try to do the bidding of the president. You know, look, the president does not have to talk to anybody to relay his wishes. He's got a telephone and he does it via Twitter. He does it in media interviews. Everyone knows what he wants. Everyone knows he wants revenge on the people that have testified against him, who have moved against him in any form or fashion. He would like to help his friends. I think you see that. Michael Flynn and his lawyers are getting the message, and that's why they filed the motion they did. I think it was kind of I don't think it was a coincidence, actually, that all of a sudden the president tweets about the Roger Stone juror foreman, and the next day Roger Stone files a motion for a new trial, probably alleging the same thing. There's got to be some communication going on there. I just think that this is part, as y'all said, a revenge tour, and I think it's a very dangerous precedent for the Department of Justice.
This comes after the Attorney General pushed back on the president's interference in an interview yesterday. How do you square his words with his actions? And do you agree with Senator Blumenthal's assessment that this is essentially the AG saying, no, I already got you. I don't need you to tweet about it?
Yeah, no, I said that yesterday in a couple of interviews. I think everybody has got the president's back. That's all the president wants. He wants people in Congress. He wants people in the Department of Justice. He wants everybody that do nothing for the American people. He just wants people with him that's got his back, and that's all he wants. And so I think the tweets do get in the way. They do create a firestorm that are unnecessary, that puts the Attorney General in a tough spot. But I think the Attorney General knows exactly what the president wants and why he's doing. I think it's really unprecedented that he's having this looked at, the Flynn case, by a second set of prosecutors. Remember, Brianna, Michael Flynn stood before a United States district judge. He said under oath that he was guilty. He said under oath that he had not been pressured, that he was pleading guilty solely because he was guilty and for no other reason. And now all of a sudden that's going to be reviewed. I think it's an uphill battle to try to get that overturned that his lawyers have, but I think the message is coming from the president. And this is really directed to try to help the president, because one of these days I think that we're going to see a bunch of pardons coming out of the White House sooner rather than later.
Sources had told CNN to expect some more resignations from the Justice Department, but it's really interesting because you urge prosecutors to, quote, stay strong and stand up to any political interference they see. Explain what you want to see them do. Explain that sentiment.
Well, look, I can understand the frustration. And I think when you were in a position that these prosecutors were the other day, when you have a direct rebuke like that the way that the department handled that, you get off of that case. And somebody may have, one of the prosecutors resigned. And I understand that sentiment. But at the same time, these are career folks. They've been there a long time. They've come across administrations in different parties. They're career people. They're dedicated to the rule of law, and they believe that no one is above the rule of law. No one is above the law, not even the president. And we need people like that in the Department of Justice. There's thousands of them like that. And every now and then they're going to bump up against these political shenanigans. Every now and then they're going to bump up and get pushback from political wins. They need to stay strong. The American public depend on them more so than they depend on the president, more so than they depend on the Attorney General. They depend on those line prosecutors and people in the office to stand up and do the right thing, because it's those folks who are standing in front of a U.S. district judge or a court of appeals judges to say this is what the Department of Justice stands for. That's what I want to see them, to just stay strong. There are thousands, there's people with them in places of power to just stay there and stand there with them, and this too will pass.
Senator Doug Jones, thank you so much. Have a great weekend, sir.
My pleasure, Brianna. Thank you.
And just to